Hello, everyone. The last few days have been kind of nuts for me. There's been a couple of delays that have prevented me from making this video and working on another video project that I had intended to start last Friday. I posted on Twitter that I was going to start a live stream series, and was fully set to do it, and then I go to start the live stream and I see that Google Hangouts no longer works with YouTube live streaming, and you have to download an encoder and all this other stuff, because apparently things aren't allowed to be simple and easy anymore. So rather than rush to try and get trying to get the software working that night, I decided, let me shop around a little bit and look for the right software for me to use and see what works best for my purposes. So the live stream series will start up possibly this weekend, but it got delayed because, bleh. Yeah, I didn't know YouTube was dropping Google Hangouts from doing the quick live streams, and if I'd known that, I would have planned a little bit more in advance, but them's the breaks. So, what else happened to me? Oh, my phone broke earlier this week, so I've had to deal with that, and they didn't have the part to fix my phone, because of course they didn't, and they said it'll take about a week for me to get my phone back, and I don't have to tell you, in 2019, going a week without a smartphone is like practically going dark. I'm practically a hermit right now. Some people can't get back to me because I don't have a smartphone. And if I sound a little hoarse, I am losing my voice. So this video, going to try and knock this out quickly so I don't put too much of a strain on my throat. But yeah, so a lot of problems, but I'm here. I'm ready to do this video, and it's time for me to talk some All Out. So I should note that I'm behind on a lot of wrestling. I haven't watched any Raw or SmackDown, so I haven't watched the King of the Ring tournament at all. I did not watch NXT UK Cardiff, the TakeOver special they did, mainly because I just don't follow NXT UK. I don't have time to follow so much of this stuff. It's crazy to me. I heard the Tyler Bate Walter match was very good, but I haven't had time to sit down and actually watch the show. And I haven't followed the week-to-week product anyway, so it just felt like, this is one I could probably skip because I'm so far behind on NXT UK as it is. Haven't caught up on I was almost at TNA. Impact. I haven't watched Ring of Honor in a few weeks. I don't like the new format of their show at all. And I haven't watched NXT since the announcement that they're going to USA, because I figured might as well just hold off on watching it until it debuts on USA and see what happens there. So, yeah, so I haven't watched a lot of wrestling since the G1 Climax. I just haven't had a lot of time. So my top 10 match list for August 2019, which will be done at the end of the video, probably going to seem a little light. And it makes it look like I only watched like 3 shows, because I kind of only watched 3 shows. So like 3 or 4 or something. So not a lot to really pull from for 10 matches. So if that list looks really weird to you, that's why. It's because I haven't watched a lot of wrestling. But I did watch All Out. I did want to watch that. So what did I think of All Out? AEW's latest pay-per-view effort, their final pay-per-view before debuting on TV on TNT. God, it's hard to believe that's just a few weeks away, man. October, be here before you know it. I thought the show was overall pretty good, but it was lacking that extra spark to kick it into like levels of greatness. Like it needed that big hook to really set up the TV show, and I don't think it really had that. Compare that to Double or Nothing, which had the really emotional Rhodes Brothers match, which set up the Rhodes Brothers versus Young Bucks tag match at a future event, and you had the debut of Jon Moxley, which was huge, and I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see more AEW after watching that show. And with this show, it just kind of felt like, I don't want to say a normal wrestling show, but it just kind of felt like a by-the-books wrestling show with some really good matches on it, but not a lot of setting up the blocks for what's to come down the road. And there was a little bit there. Like, I'm pretty sure they're setting up for Omega versus Jericho for the title. That'll be like the conclusion of their trilogy, and Omega's going to have like some kind of a redemption journey since Pac beat him at All Out. But overall, it just kind of felt like a fairly normal wrestling show. You know, Cody Rhodes beat Shawn Spears, so that feud's basically done. You know, things like that. So, not a lot of like major hooks to really kick things into high gear heading into the TV show in October. Also, I felt the show was too long. A lot of people have said that, and I kind of agree. Their main shows are at that 4-hour range with a 1-hour pre-show, and I'm like, they could shave an hour off of that, and they'd probably be okay. And, the main event was like half an hour long. The ladder match was like half an hour long, and it's like, you probably could have cut about 10 minutes off of both of those, and you probably would have been okay. But in any case, let's go over the card. Like I said, I don't think there was any match on the show that I didn't enjoy to some degree. There was nothing I would call a bad match. It was just, again, the show was too long, and there wasn't like that major setup for the TV show, which I think the show was lacking. I also think that losing Jon Moxley to injury, which sucked, because Omega versus Moxley to me was like the biggest match on the show, so losing that match really sucked. And I felt hurt the show. No knock on Pac, and I'll talk about that match in a little bit, but it really felt like the show was lacking something without Jon Moxley there. But anyway, we had the pre-show battle royal with the women, won by Nyla Rose, to set up the first AEW women's title match, and there was a singles match later on the main card, and the winners of those two matches would go on to face each other, I believe, on the first episode on TNT. And that will crown the first women's champion. I like some of the faces that we got to see here. Jazz was there, ODB, Allie showed up, my girl Britt Baker was there. Fortunately, didn't get concussed this time. It looks like she's going to be feuding with Bea Priestley, which is nice. There should be feuds within the division that don't involve the title, and I think that's a good thing. I don't know if Nyla Rose versus Riho is the most exciting first title match, but then again, they're probably thinking they don't want to do that big of a title match right away and save the really big stuff for later, so this is just kind of like a building blocks phase. Nyla Rose, there's the transgender angle. I don't know how much they're going to play that up. I would imagine she would win. I would be very surprised if Riho beat her, and they do the David versus Goliath thing. Now, personally, because I'm such a anti-PC dick, I would just do the whole angle of because I've heard of it happening in MMA and things like that, where you'll have transgendered fighters who are male going to female, and they fight in the women's division, and they're injuring the women and breaking skulls and shit like that because they have physical, biological advantages. And I was like, I would make that into an angle. Why not? And it's it would make people feel uncomfortable and a little are you really going to go there? But I'm like, why not? Try it. Create a little controversy and, make an angle out of it. I don't know. I would be tempted to go down that road. But then again, I grew up with the Attitude Era where they would have been like, oh my God, if Nyla Rose existed during the Attitude Era, they would have, Vince Russo and Paul Heyman would have had a field day with her. But in any case, so Nyla Rose won the Battle Royal. I thought it was fun. I thought they missed a couple camera shots throughout the match, but other than that, I thought it was overall a fun match and it was a nice, solid pre-show match. The whole setup of the suits, which they did at one of the other shows, I forget which one. I believe it was Double or Nothing, and having a group of people come out every so often based on whatever their card suit is. I would announce who is in which suit beforehand, and maybe they did, and I just don't know about it, because I think that would make it a little less confusing. I followed it a little bit better this time. The last time they did it, I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Here, it was a little bit easier to follow, so it was all right, I guess because I'd already seen it before, I kind of, got the gist of it, but it is kind of a confusing match, and maybe announcing who got what suit beforehand would make it a little bit easier to follow, so they can expect to see who comes out whenever the next round of players comes out. So overall, there was some other fun stuff in this, like Awesome Kong. She always adds a lot, especially into matches like this. And like I said, faces like ODB and Jazz were nice little surprises. And overall, just a good, fun, basic pre-show match. That at least had a point because it's setting up their first women's title match down the road. Then we had Private Party versus Angelico and Jack Evans, also part of the pre-show. This was good. I really like Private Party. I really like their whole shtick. I think they've got something there with those guys. And the heel turn by Angelico and Evans after the match was good to see. They're really loading up the tag team division with some pretty solid teams, and that's good to see. I'll be excited to see what the tag team tournament looks like moving on to TNT and who ultimately becomes the first champions. Private Party seem to have gotten over pretty quickly. And then you have Jack Evans and Angelico, who are a very, very solid hands that'll add to the tag division in whatever role you give them to. So overall, I thought the match was fun and a nice showcase for everybody involved. Then we opened up the main card with a 6-man tag, SoCal Uncensored, who have turned into like the key openers for these AEW shows, and I kind of like hearing the SCU theme at the start of each show. Although one thing they may want to avoid moving forward is that I was talking to a friend of mine who saw the show, and he's like, it feels like I'm kind of seeing a lot of the same things on each AEW show. It's like, all right, they always open up with SCU, they always have like a half-hour Bucks match, a half-hour Jericho match, and they always have like a big, like Cody's always the one in the middle that has the big, more emotional match, and it's just starting to feel a little repetitive. So maybe break it up a little bit and find ways to kind of do different things on each show, and that's fair criticism. I'm not sick of it yet, but yes, if it gets too repetitive, they're gonna have to change that. But anyway, it was SCU versus the Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt. I love the Jungle Boy Luchasaurus pairing, and it's the greatest thing I didn't even know I wanted. Jungle Boy has a lot of like cartoon character-y flair to him, and Luchasaurus, I've loved that guy ever since I saw him in Lucha Underground. I'm like, this guy, I need more of this guy in my life, and I think pairing him up with Jungle Boy, it's a very natural pairing. They're the Moon Boy and Devil Dinosaur of wrestling. And or Mario and Yoshi, whatever comparison you want to go with. And I really like the pairing, and I think they have a nice little shtick, a nice little act going there. And I think throwing Marco Stunt into the mix is kind of neat because he is the weirdest looking dude on the roster. He's so weirdly short. Like, it's kind of amazing, like, that he looks the way he does. He looks like somebody's kid brother. It's kind of great, but. I think, putting him with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, I think, makes up for the fact that he's so tiny and gives him a little extra something. And, he can play a part in a tag team rather than, working against giants in singles competition, which would look ridiculous if they did it too often. So, I think in this little 3-man team they have here, I think is really good. And overall, I enjoyed this match, mainly because I just get a kick out of Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. And SCU got the win, which was good. Let them be one of the more elite factions in AEW. And overall, it was a nice, solid opener. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a hoot. Next up, we got Pac versus Kenny Omega, which Pac being the replacement for Jon Moxley, who was injured during the G1 Climax, much to my disappointment. When I heard that, I was like, oh no, that hurts the show tremendously, because like I said, I felt like Omega Moxley, even with the first title match, even with the ladder match, and even with Cody and Shawn Spears having all that build-up, I felt like Omega versus Moxley was the biggest match on the show, and to lose that, it was like, oh, fuck. That hurts. That really hurts. But, I thought Pac and Omega had a pretty good match. I thought they meshed together fairly well and had a nice, hard-hitting, high-flying type of match that you would expect to see. I did not expect to see Pac win via submission. That shocked me. I was like, whoa. Omega, what's his record now in AEW? 1-2 in singles competition? It's like, damn, Omega, you're struggling. Because I thought Omega was going to run roughshod over everybody because he's, the best bout machine and he's like the biggest name that never worked for Vince. And I thought for sure they were going to play that up and make him like this elite guy. And it's like, oh man, he's struggling. He's struggling here. I wonder if they'll do something like that. And I think they are going to do like a redemption arc with him where he faces Jericho for the title, and that'll be their third match. And, but we'll get there when we get there. But overall, I thought this match was pretty good. Not exactly the substitute for what I think Moxley versus Omega was going to be, but pretty solid for what it was. Next, we had the Cracker Barrel Clash, a match sponsored by Cracker Barrel. And oddly enough, I made this joke on Twitter. It's a dumb joke, but it's like I find it hilarious that they call this match the Cracker Barrel Clash, and all 3 guys are white. And it's like things like that just make me laugh because of how like absurd it is. But anyway, so it was more of a hardcore match, kind of like a Monsters Ball, I guess. Jimmy Havoc versus Darby Allin versus Joey Janela. So it's like those 3 mid-card guys that are kind of the hardcore specialists and kind of the weirdos, the weirdest fuck dudes. Darby Allin, that dude is going to be paralyzed if he keeps doing those coffin drops. I mean, the one he did with the barrel, and I'm like, oh, dude, why? Like, I mean, it looks amazing, but it's like, dude, that is gonna fuck your back up if you keep doing it. Like the one he did here wasn't as cringy as the one he did in the match with Cody, but holy shit, dude, be careful. That's all I'll say. But you know, with hardcore wrestling, you feel like you've seen it all, and every once in a while I'll see something. It's like, okay, that one I've never seen before. I don't think I've ever seen anybody put thumbtacks into somebody's mouth and make them bite down on it or anything like that. So there was a little creativity here. I thought it was fun. I thought it was an enjoyable match, and brought something a little different to the show by being the more hardcore match. So for that, I thought it was good. Jimmy Havoc got the win, and we'll see what that means for him moving forward. Next up, we had the Dark Order versus the Best Friends, with the winner getting a first-round bye in the tag team tournament. I've already said on multiple videos that, you know, it feels a little weird to me that you have guys win 2 matches to get a first-round bye in a tournament, unless the tournament's going to be a one-night show, which I don't know if they can do a full tournament in a 1-2 hour show, but in any case... yeah, this is the match, and this is the match for the first round bye. Dark Order versus Best Friends. I thought the match was fine. The Dark Order are a little quizzical to me. They're kind of cut from that same cloth that I felt a lot of other creepy gimmicks, like I don't know, Kevin Thorne, and even the Wyatt family to a degree, because one of my complaints against the Wyatt family, through no fault of Bray or Luke or Eric or Braun or anybody involved in that, it was like, all right, what's their motive? Like, what makes them the way that they are? Like, what is Bray Wyatt's message? Like, what we need some like additional context to kind of explain the creepiness a little bit. The Brood was kind of missing that, where it's like they kept saying it's like, oh, Gangrel and Edge have this backstory, and Christian is Edge's brother. But they never explained it, and it's like, okay, to me that's one of the like all-time great hanging story threads that never got resolved. It's like, all right, what is the backstory between Gangrel and Edge? Because they never fucking explained it, and they never explained why Edge just all of a sudden joined Gangrel and they formed the Brood. So, but a good example of what I'm talking about is the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness, where it's like, okay, so Paul Bearer and the Undertaker reunite, and they form this like satanic cult, and they answer to a higher power. So everything that they do is on the orders of whoever this higher power is that's giving orders to the Undertaker, who we eventually find out is Vince McMahon, which may have been a disappointing reveal for many. It kind of was for me, but you know, but again, that's neither here nor there. There was at least like kind of like a logic to it, and there was enough mystery to kind of like, all right, let's see where they're going with this. And with the Dark Order, it's like, okay, they act creepy and they do creepy things, but I don't know exactly what motivates them or what exactly is going on with these guys or what their message is. And if this gimmick's going to work, they're going to have to add, like, more meaning to it and give them promo time and give them something to, like, help people kind of understand or latch on to what they're doing. Because right now they just seem like a very basic, you know, creepy gimmick, and not much else beyond that. So, anyways, the match itself was fine. Dark Order got the win, which makes sense. You know, give the heels the first round bye. It always makes more sense to do that. And it was solid for that. But again, I think the Dark Order needs some work. But just my opinion. Next after that, we had the match I mentioned earlier with the winner getting the second spot in the first ever AEW's women's title match. Riho defeated Hikaru Shida. Now, I'm not sure exactly why these two got picked for this match. Maybe their win-loss records were better than everyone else. I'd have to go back and look at the other AEW shows to see if that's true. I think Riho's undefeated, if I'm not mistaken, but that's mostly in tag matches. So, anyway, maybe I'm just splitting hairs. I don't know. Again, I thought the match was good. Nothing that special. I thought it was just a solid match, and it set up the first women's title match, which we'll be getting on TNT. Like I said, Nyla Rose versus Riho isn't the most exciting match, but maybe they're saving their more exciting matches for later. So we'll see. And then we got my pick for match of the night. Cody with MJF in his corner versus Shawn Spears with Tully Blanchard. Now, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a couple of the other X factors surrounding this match. Cody in the Star Trek entrance, which I popped for because I just got done marathoning the fuck out of Star Trek. I spent like the last year watching TOS, the animated series, TNG, and then finally Deep Space Nine. So I'm all caught up all the way through Deep Space Nine. Haven't watched Voyager yet. People have told me to skip Voyager and Enterprise, and they're not really worth it. I've been told there's some gems in there, but it's not worth watching every single episode. That's what I've been told personally. But maybe I'll get around to watching both of those at some point. But I was kind of on a Star Trek kick for a while, so seeing Cody come out in, like, the Star Trek gear, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of like, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm kind of on board with it because I've got Star Trek on my brain right now. I felt sorry for Pharaoh getting spooked by the pyros. I'm like, oh, poor dog. Maybe you shouldn't set off pyros while the dog is around. If you're going to bring your dog out with you, you probably don't need pyros. Just food for thought in the future. And we got a run-in from Arn Anderson, who delivered a spine buster, which that was a nice surprise. It's always good to see Arn. And kind of a nice equalizer to Tully Blanchard, his former tag team partner. One of the best tag teams of their era, in my opinion, Arn and Tully. And overall, I thought the match was very good. It was that old school kind of 80s style that that I've always been a fan of. You know, focusing more on emotion and little nuances rather than high spots. And overall, I thought they had a very nice dramatic match, especially when MJF was in Cody's corner, and we were all thinking, oh, MJF's going to turn on Cody, and it didn't happen, which was good. It's like, all right, so they're not blowing their load right away, and maybe MJF really does like Cody, and, his whole bit, it's like, my friend, my mentor, Cody Rhodes, like, he actually does mean it, or maybe he feels he can get more out of Cody Rhodes in the future. We'll see. You don't need to do the heel turn right away. But anyway, we got this match. I thought it was very good. Cody got the win, and so to me, that feels like the end of the Shawn Spears feud, so it'll be interesting to see where Shawn goes moving forward and where Cody goes from here. I think Shawn looked great. Ty Dillinger, I felt like for years that this dude's a talent that WWE kind of dropped the ball with, and here he's kind of like having another standout performance. I keep going back to that TakeOver match he had with Bobby Roode, where I was like, I thought he looked really good in that match, and I think there's something there with that kid, but I think they looked at him and only saw the 10 gimmick. And that when he got to the main roster, that's all he did. Just the 10 thing and nothing beyond that. And here he got a chance to shine, and he looked really good doing it. So, this is my pick for match of the night. Easy. Then we had the Escalera de la Muerte, the Stairway of Death, or whatever that was called. The ladder match for the AAA World Tag Team Championships, won by the Lucha Brothers, defeating the Young Bucks. And this match was crazy. It was a spot fest, and it was just these two teams like doing all the crazy shit you expect them to do. They did some shit I've never seen before, and I was like, oh my god, this is getting nuts. Like, this one was crazy. And overall, very good spot festy car wreck kind of match. Pretty much exactly what you would expect out of these two teams. So the Lucha Brothers get the win, but we got the debut of Santana and Ortiz post-match as they attacked everyone involved. And now we have another team thrown into the mix. Now, the former LAX 2.0 from Impact, Santana and Ortiz, I like them as a team. I think they're pretty good. I don't know if I'd put them up there as high as the first LAX, Homicide and Hernandez, but it's another solid team to be thrown into the tag division. So like I said, they're getting pretty stacked as far as tag teams go. So here's hoping this is a good sign that the tag division is really going to be an important part of AEW, because they're really loading it up right now. When you look at, the Bucks, SoCal Uncensored, the Lucha Brothers, Santana and Ortiz, the Best Friends, Jurassic Express, the Dark Order, they've got like a really solid number of teams right now, so they've got some depth. It's just a matter of executing and making sure the division works, and letting the teams have their own personalities and have really good matches in the process. So overall, really liked the ladder match, thought it was good. Then we got Chris Jericho versus Adam Page, with the winner becoming the first ever AEW world title holder. And I kind of liked Adam Page's entrance where he came out on a horse. That was kind of neat. I was like, all right, that's something different. I kind of like it. And he's playing up the cowboy gimmick. I kind of like it. Lone gunman type of deal. I dig it. And I thought the match itself was good. Maybe went a little too long. Again, when you have a half-hour long ladder match and a show that's, on the 4-hour mark, it's like, you could have shortened this, but I thought the match itself was good. I thought the finish was really well designed. It was the best I've seen the Judas Effect look, where the best setup I've seen for the Judas Effect, where Jericho hit it clean and it looked really good, and he hit it out of nowhere, and I'm like, okay, maybe this finisher's going to get over after all. If he hits it, if he can come up with creative ways to hit it, I'm like, that could be a really good one moving forward. And I thought the match was good. Jericho winning was the safe one to go with. Because going into this, I thought, okay, so they're either going to go with the safe route and put it on Jericho, which I don't think too many people are going to complain about if he wins, or they're going to go with the unknown young star in Adam Page. And they went the safe route with it. I would have been more tempted to go with Hangman as the title holder, just for the sake of trying to make a new star and trying to make a face for the company. And make somebody like Hangman Page and elevate him up to that level. I thought he looked good in this main event, but not getting the win, it's like, okay, so they're not going to run with Hangman as champion, and they're going to go with Jericho, which, again, I guess makes more sense, not only because of Jericho's star power, but because he's the heel. And as I've always felt, I think storylines are better when typically the heels are in control. And they probably want to do Omega versus Jericho down the road. Probably their next pay-per-view event even. So, or maybe even Jericho and Moxley. Who knows? Because Jericho's a heel, Omega's a face, and Moxley's kind of a tweener in between. So maybe they'll do a triple threat. Who knows? But that first episode will be really interesting. But like I said, the show ended here, and there was no major hook for the TV show, and that kind of surprised me. I'm not expecting a huge debut like CM Punk or anything like that. And I know a lot of people were speculating that Punk was going to be on the show, and it would have been cool if he did, but I wasn't expecting it. But I was expecting some kind of storyline development to really kind of set the stage for October and TNT and all that stuff. So I was a little surprised that the show just kind of ended after Jericho won. It was like, oh, okay, so nothing real major happened. And like I said, it felt like the show was kind of lacking something, like a little extra spark to really push it over the edge. But like I said, I enjoyed most of the matches, and I really liked the Cody-Shawn Spears match. I thought it was a good show overall. It just felt like it was missing a little something, and maybe the show ran a little too long. But fortunately, none of the little production gaffes that plagued some of the earlier shows were here. They didn't run long. So the show didn't black out on them or anything like that. The announcing was better. I felt this is probably the best the three-man team has done since JR sounded a little bit more motivated this time around and there were fewer mistakes. But overall, it's they've still got some work to do. But again, I'm still very curious to see what it's going to look like on TNT. So we'll see how all that goes down. So those are my thoughts on All Out. I think I went a little, went way too long reviewing that. Oh, one more thing I want to talk about the pre-show. I know I've shat on the Librarians as the worst gimmick that AEW does. The bit where Leva Bates avoided elimination in the Battle Royal by stepping on the books, that's the best thing I've seen the Librarians do. And it made me wonder, it's okay, what books are she stepping on? Because I want to actually see what books they are. So that was kind of the one funny thing the Librarians have done. So maybe they ought to lean into the screwball aspect of it and do goofy stuff like that, because that might be the way to get the gimmick to work. Because as is, it's again, it's kind of like the Dark Order. Like I said, it's all right, why are they Librarians? Why do they love books so much? Can we get a little extra context here on what's going on? Make them a little bit more three-dimensional than just it's a librarian because of reasons. Isaac Yankem is an evil dentist because of reasons, and things of that nature. So, just food for thought. But anyway, let me close out this video by going over my top 10 matches for August 2019. I'm going to blow through this because, I didn't watch a lot of wrestling this month, so it's not like I had a lot of options. So, number 10, Joey Janela versus Darby Allin versus Jimmy Havoc in the Cracker Barrel Clash. Adam Page, number 9, Adam Page versus Chris Jericho to crown the first AEW World Champion. Both of these matches from All Out. Number 8, also from All Out, Kenny Omega versus Pac. Number 7, also from All Out. Again, I didn't watch a lot of wrestling this month. The Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers for the AAA Tag Team Championship in a ladder match. Number 6, Io Shirai versus Candice LaRae from NXT TakeOver Toronto. A bit of a surprise hit, that match was. Number 5, Cody versus Shawn Spears from All Out. Number 4, Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins for the WWE title from WWE SummerSlam 2019. Number 3, the Briscoes versus the Guerrillas of Destiny in a ladder war for the ROH Tag Team title from ROH Summer Supercard. Number 2, Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano for the NXT title in a 2 out of 3 falls match from NXT TakeOver Toronto. And number 1 is going to go to the G1 Climax, all the matches from the G1 Climax, all the ones I watched anyway. The G1 Climax was a total delight to watch with all the different matches and all the different personalities that were involved in it, from Jon Moxley to Kota Ibushi, who got his big win, to Toru Yano, to Tomohiro Ishii, to Will Ospreay, to Kenta, who had that epic heel turn on the night of the finale. So much stuff came out of the G1 Climax. It was probably the G1 I've enjoyed the most since I started watching them every year, and it was just really good stuff. And because of the strength of the G1 Climax, I'm going to give Brand of the Month to New Japan. They deserve the credit this month. So that concludes this video. Thank you all for watching, and thank God my voice held up, because I feel like it's really crackly right now. But that's all I have for you now. Thanks again, everybody, for watching, and I'll see you all later.